Kimberly Lavelle at yourparenthelp.com, where I teach parents how to provide a high-quality education for their children at home. This week we are talking about the reading comprehension strategy, visualization. So if you haven't gotten it yet, go to yourparenthelp.com/reading comprehension to get the Octopus's Guide to Reading Comprehension, 8 powerful strategies to teach your child reading comprehension. Strategy number 2 in there is what we're talking about today, visualization. So visualization is all about getting an image in your head. And when we're talking about reading, it's an image in your head that you're using to understand what you're reading. Anytime a good reader reads, they have an image in their head. If you are reading a recipe, you should have an image in your head of what it looks like to add flour to the cookie dough. You should have an image in your head of what it looks like when you spoon out the cookie dough onto the pan. So you read a sentence, you should have an image of what that sentence looks like in your head that you're then putting into action in real life. When you're reading something in the news, you probably have an idea of what that looks like in your head. If you're reading a scientific something, sometimes this is where we struggle, because sometimes they're using things and we have no idea what they're talking about. And if we can't put the image in our head, we struggle with that. At least I do. I struggle if it's something I don't know what it is. So then I have to look it up so that I can understand it enough that I can get an image in my head and can understand what really is happening. So big strategy there is get an image in your child's head when they're reading. They hopefully are already doing this, just naturally. Some kids don't. Some kids, you ask them, what do you picture when we read that? And then they look at you like you're crazy. What do you mean, what do I picture? I don't picture anything. That's a problem that we want to immediately fix. So start simple, especially if they're giving you that look. If you just read them a whole paragraph and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. Start simple. You can start with a sentence or you can start with a word. So the example in the Octopus's Guide is the fish swam in the fishbowl. So if they can't picture that whole sentence, then you go down to just picturing the fish. What does the fish look like? What color is it? What size is it? What shape is it? You know, is it kind of fat or is it kind of flat? What does it look like? Tell me everything you can tell me, and ask them lots of questions. Oh, it's yellow. How big is it? Well, it's about this big. Is it kind of round? Is it kind of flat? Well, kind of in between. Okay. Does it have any other colors besides yellow? Yeah, it has black on its tail. Oh, it has black on its tail. So hopefully it's at a point where you feel like your image matches your child's image, like because you have heard what they're saying and you guys match, you're good. So for that, then you move on. The fish swam. What would it look like for a fish to swim? Well, they kind of... Okay, you have an idea of what a fish looks like when they swim. The fish swam in the fishbowl. Well, what would the fishbowl look like? What's a fishbowl made out of? So having those conversations that are just getting lots of details. So that one sentence could be a 5-minute conversation where you're just like really digging into it and then you're done. Don't like go on to the next sentence right away, because that can be exhausting. Trying to think that much and communicate that much about what you're thinking can be exhausting. If your child's game for it and you want to move on, go ahead. Otherwise, come back to it later, reread that sentence. Don't get into all those questions again. But then read the next sentence, and maybe it gives more information about the fish or the fishbowl or what else is in the fishbowl. The fish swam into its little house. Oh, it has a little house. I wonder what the house looks like. And then talk about what the house might look like. And then maybe it describes that the house is a little cottage. They've got the ceramic. I hope you know what I'm talking about. So they're describing something that you can pick, that your child is picturing in their head, and the image might change. So maybe they didn't have a house in their original image of the fishbowl, but now they've added that in. Maybe at some point it says that the red fin brushed against the plant. Now you know there's a plant, you know that the fin is red, so the image changed. Maybe you're still thinking yellow, but now with red fins instead of yellow or black fins. So you want the child always to notice what needs to change, because if they notice that it needs to change, they're understanding, they're comprehending really well. So if they aren't going to change, like, no, it has a black fin, that's where we're going back to, oh, when you first thought of it, you thought it had a black fin because we didn't know anything else, and that was a great image. But then we got more information. Now we know it says red fin. What else do we know that's red? Make sure that they're really connecting to that color. Red, and it's on the fin, red fin, brushing against the plant. What might the plant look like? We might not know. Maybe it's a real plant, maybe it's a fake plant. They can decide until we know more, maybe we never find out more. At which point they get to decide. It's in them. If the author doesn't tell us, we get to decide. But when the author tells us, we should be accepting that new information. So, I hope this was helpful. The biggest piece of that is just to know that your child needs an image in their head, and the best way to get the image in their head is through questioning. You're asking them questions, you're not telling them they need to picture a fish. You're not telling them the fish needs to be a certain color, there needs to be a fishbowl. You're asking them questions, what does the fish look like? Then they're knowing that they need to picture a fish, and they're coming up with an answer. So questioning is always a very, very powerful tool. I would definitely recommend that you use that. I hope you have a fabulous week, and I will see you again next Monday.